shot him in the other eye, and the bullet went through his eye to his brain, and he was killed. And this is not a unique story. This is not a unique story. We have a 17-year-old girl who was talking to her dad on the day she was shot killed. And it was the day when the army threatened to disperse the demonstrations by force, by lethal force. And her dad told her, take care of yourself. She said, by this afternoon, everything will be finished. By this afternoon, everything will be finished. And her dad didn't understand until he got the news right in the afternoon that she was shot with a live bullet in her heart, and she collapsed dead right there. Another person who was hit by a bullet, taken to the field hospital in the neighboring mosque, and while he was being treated, he was fasting. So the doctor told him, you need to drink a lot of fluid to help us make up the bleeding. And he said, I cannot drink. He said, why? He said, because I'm fasting. He said, no, you have to break your fast. He said, I will break my fast with Allah. And he passed away.
So he died in the fast.
Yes.
But in Islam, wouldn't he allow to drink to save his life?
Theoretically, of course, but allowance is up to him to pick up the license and use it, or to continue. It is like the story with those 5, 6 companions of the Prophet who were all dying, and when the first one was brought water to drink, he passed it on to his neighbor, and his neighbor passed it to his other neighbor, and it kept going around until it came back to the first one. But the time it came to him, he had passed away, his neighbor passed away, his neighbor passed away, and so on and so forth. They all died giving preference to their friends over themselves. if there is an orphan in my family who needs to be adopted, and an orphan outside my family who needs adoption, then my orphan in my family is has more right to be adopted on me than others. Because Allah says in the Quran, Al-Aqrabun awla bil ma'ruf. The close kin have more right in your charity and in your support more than the strangers. What's your question?
Uh, I have a question about the in Islam. Alhamdulillah, we know that you're allowed to have more than one wife. But with the in the United States, the law it doesn't allow you to have more than one wife. What do you think about that from Islamic view, regardless of the paper-wise or legality issue?
What do I think
I mean, your personal opinion about that.
regarding what? There is no question.
I mean, regarding, for example, if the husband and the wife, or the bride and the groom, they decide to get married, the second wife, I'm saying, is that Islamically, for example, because they say we have to follow the law of the land,
Yes.
is that has anything to do Islamically, or?
In matters that Islam makes an obligation, there is no obedience for a human being if his obedience is a disobedience to Allah. لا طاعة لمخلوق بمعصية الخالق. So no human being can stop you from carrying your Islamic duties. I want you to pay attention.
Yeah.
Islamic duties. Okay?
Yeah.
But in matters that are licenses or allowances in Islam, if the law prevents you from doing it, and you can live without it because Allah did not make it mandatory, then you need to obey the law. And if you want to enjoy those privileges and permissions and licenses, then you need to leave the place where they are prohibited and live where they are not. But nobody should stop you from doing your mandatory prayer. Nobody should stop you from fasting Ramadan. You understand? So when it is a duty, nobody should stop you. When it is a privilege and a license, and the law doesn't allow it, then you need to obey the law and move to another place where it is allowed. Okay?
So if you live here in America, you should respect the law.
Yes.
Yeah. But some Muslim people, they live here, but they still have two wives.
Well, so long as they are not caught, they they are doing it. But when they get caught and they go in prison, like some places I know, then they hurt their children, their first wife, their second wife, their third wife. So it becomes a messy situation for everybody, unnecessarily. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, لا ينبغي لمؤمن أن يذل نفسه. No Muslim should put himself by his own hands into a humiliating situation, a humiliating position, an indignifying position. They ask, how would we do that? How does this happen? He says, by exposing himself to difficulties that he could have lived without. And he cannot bear.
So in America, for example, if the couple are together and then the man get a second wife, definitely when, for example, he died, so in the will, the second wife will not be into it. So he will have.
He can always add her in the will.
Oh, really?
Yes. But she will not be added as my wife. She will be added as somebody, that's it.
Okay, so
Well, another thing I heard that if you are in America, that you can have a second wife, but you just can't add him. Like you can't have a marriage certificate, but you still married and then live here.
All of this will do.
Yeah, well, if you get caught, definitely you're gonna go to
Not
jail.
only that, but all what this does is that you have a wife with full dignified rights known and public to the society, and another wife under the table. Who wants to be a wife under the table?
no, why if she is for example, you name her your wife, but you don't have to, because I guess the marriage is a contract between you and Allah and her.
Yeah, but marriage also is a contract with the society, because if you have children and they need help, whom do they go to if you abandon them? They go to the society. If you have a wife and you traveled and she is lost, where does she go? She goes to the society. So the society takes interest in marriage, and the marriage institution is regulated for the sole reason that it costs society money to maintain a family.
Yeah, yeah. For example, in the society, like in the between her family, with her first society, in her Muslim community, in her people, they know she's your wife. Just the only different, you obeying the law by
But
not.
but you're not. She is not written as your wife. And listen to me. The Quran says, if you loan me $1,000, I should write you a paper, right? So if you give me your daughter, you want to give it to me without writing anything? So your daughter is cheaper than $1,000? make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Everywhere you live, there are things that you can enjoy, and there are things that are prohibited. Prohibited, Samir. So you can't go and live in Mecca and say, but in America I can do this, I want to do it here. Well, sorry, you're in Mecca. And where you are, you need to follow and respect the rules. If you want to live anywhere, you have to respect the rules of the place. Unless in one condition, if the rules prohibit you from something mandatory in your faith. If they tell you you cannot pray, you cannot marry a Muslim, or you cannot raise your children as Muslims, or you cannot keep a copy of the Quran, then you have to move, go somewhere else. But you don't come to a society that will take away some of your privilege as a Muslim and say, but I want to violate the law and I want to do it no matter what happens. You will be exposing yourself and your children to a lot of hardships. Without paper, your children will be presumed that they came out of zina.
Okay, if
Do you want your children to feel that?
or for example, so this will be like in a general situation. If in some specific situations, the wife, she's not able to have kids and she been divorced, and you feel as a Muslim, instead of staying as a single man, you will want to marry her, and there is no kids involved, and you have your own kids, and there is no paper, but with the permission of her dad and her family.
I'm telling you that marriage is as much a contract between a person and a family, a person and a person, and two people and the society in which they live. One cannot separate this from the other.
Okay, for example, another question. In one of the states, I guess in Utah or one of the other states, there is the Mormon. Yeah, they live and they have more than one wife.
No, but it's still illegal.
Yeah, but they in their own belief they don't have any written papers, but within their community or their society they have those wives, and
Yeah, but it
they're
is
well known.
illegal. It is illegal. They only sign one of them as wife,
Yes.
and the rest, they are just wife according to their faith, but they are not recognized by society as wives.
They're recognized in their own society, but for example, when you live within your own society. That's what is matter.
Yeah,
Which
but
includes your family, your Muslim relative, and her family and your family.
So what is your question for me?
My question is, so if it's recognized by your own society, and there is
It's recognized by your own society?
I mean your close society, which includes her family, your family, and the people you're dealing with, they know that
Okay.
she's your wife,
Okay,
and you protecting her from staying as a single man,
right.
and she agree and she knows this is the law and we have to obey the law. We didn't go against
So
the
what
law.
is the question?
I mean, is that, do you have any say in that? Like, you feel?
I said what I have. You're asking, what do I say? I already said what I said.
Okay, because I guess
It exposes everybody to risks and dangers that can influence the life of the family.
okay. And one of the thing, okay, happens in Islam, dua al-istikhara. If both of them they did that and it happens, that means that's what Allah wants. So do you think also still you feel going against it, or?
Well, going against Allah is not a personal judgment. You know that it is against the law.
Yeah.
Are you making istikhara to determine if it is against the law or not?
No,
So what is the relationship
you're
between,
not violating the law.
no, what is the relationship between making istikhara and you asking if it is legal, even though the istikhara showed you this and this? There's no relationship.
No, my point here, why you think it's against the you violating the law? If you are
Why
not,
do I think?
no, why is violation the law when you have second wife?
Because the law says so.
No, if you the law allow to be written in a papers and registered in the city hall, but you are not giving that right to him. So you not consider in the
And that's why I'm saying I believe it is doing this wife injustice. And one of the conditions of marrying more than one wife is to be just and fair. And the law doesn't allow for this justice. فإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا فواحد. In this case, I am sure I'm not going to be just. I'm not going to be able to call her my wife in public. So what does she become to me? So I have my wife, and I have another woman that I go and visit and come and do this and do this. How would the society see me? Husband under the table, wife under the table. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Do we have translation tomorrow? Mashiro? Tomorrow? Do we have translation? Are you coming? Okay.
She said she has a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, when in the lecture, there was time you say the individual stopped coming. Why did you stop coming?
It was a test for the believers and for everybody. You're telling her much more than I said.
No, I went back to what I said because he asked the same thing. He said, no, I explained one time and I explained again. Because he said, why? And I said, okay. He said he stopped because he wanted to test the prophet and the people who followed him. He said, oh, okay.
Okay. Any other question?